Hello, my friends. My name is Gerdes. I'm just a professor trying to help you understand context in the war in Ukraine. So today is Thursday, May 23rd, 2024. Enemy losses, that is Russian losses, are 1,330 people over the day. And I'm looking at that and I'm just thinking like, wow, 1,330 over the day. I want to show you this before I show you the actual chart. Okay, Russia has signed a decree for military conscription in the occupied area of Zaporizhzhia. So they'll use Ukrainians in Zaporizhzhia who were captured by the Russians and put them into service against Ukraine. With Russian casualties currently estimated to be 913 a day, the Kremlin are seeking any way to recruit more personnel to avoid unpopular domestic mobilization. But I really want to key in on this, 913 a day. And what we know is that there was 1330, so it's not quite time and a half higher than what the average is. So 1330, 497, 700, we're almost to 500,000, and we'll be there in 2 days. Okay, before we go on, 11 tanks off the battlefield, 27 armored combat vehicles, 40 artillery pieces, 71 vehicles and fuel tanks, and 1 aircraft. Here's the aircraft. We did it again. This is from the Ministry of Defense. We did it again. Ukrainian defenders shot down another Russian Su-25 jet in the Donetsk region. Nice job, warriors. Okay, let's keep going. In other news, the F-16 pilots have just been minted. Congratulations to the first class of freshly minted Ukrainian F-16 pilots who received their wings today. Now go fly, fight, and win. Okay, so how long until the F-16s actually get to Ukraine? That's the next question. They have to have places where the F-16s can be housed, and I was reading about underground storage and things along those lines. They have to have that in place before they can do anything else, and it's not going to be May. I'm not sure if it'll be June. By the end of the summer, perhaps. We just don't know. Okay. This was Andrew Perpetua's losses of the Russians in red and Ukrainians in blue yesterday. So it's about 4 times Russian losses to Ukrainian losses. That's good. Yesterday I didn't show it because it came out very late, but it was only about 1.5 maybe to 1. So yeah, it was a lot better today than it was yesterday. Okay. At least 10 explosions took place in Kharkiv today, and another article, another source. This was next. Here is Anton Gerashenko. Kharkiv is under Russian strikes. There have been over 10 explosions. Civilian infrastructure has been attacked. 6 people dead, 16 more injured already, according to the Kharkiv administration. The business that was attacked by Russians is a civilian printing company. A bookstore, I mean a printing, like to print books. No military objects nearby. Now this rankled me as a professor. I certainly hate to see this happen. Russia has shelled a printing house in Kharkiv, having killed and wounded its employees. This printing house prints Ukrainian nonfiction books. Watch the irony here, including studies of the Soviet terror against Ukrainians, as well as classics. Once again, Russia aims to erase Ukrainian culture. Okay, and when we're talking about erasing Ukrainian culture, look at what Chasiv Yar looks like. This is just a still photo, it's not video, but the city's destroyed. It's Bakhmut and many other Ukrainian cities all over again. Bomb, destroy, kill, occupy, a proven recipe. This is just what the Russians do when they come to liberate. Okay, the defense intelligence update from the British talked about how the Kharkiv and cyclone, this is the translation for cyclone, were actually attacked the other day, and yes, they were sunk. He said, now, again, although it's unlikely to significantly change the impact of the Russian Navy that the Russian Navy is having on Ukrainian operations, it does highlight a continued danger to Russian forces operating in the Crimea and Black Sea region, and continued Ukrainian success when conducting coordinated strikes. And this ship is no longer. It's now promoted to submarine. Okay, so yesterday I talked about how Russia begins tactical nuclear weapons drills near the Ukrainian border. This is to deter, to say, see, we're unhappy about this, so we're going to show that we have these nuclear weapons and we're going to saber-rattle a little bit. Well, the French answered that. Uh, France flies nuclear-capable missile as Russia holds drills. Now, could they have done that without publicity? Yes, but the publicity was primarily to do what Putin's doing. France has carried out its first test firing of an updated nuclear-capable missile, the AMSEPA, are designed to be launched by the jet fighter, according to the French defense minister. It came a day after Russia said it began nuclear drills. So it's just answering kind for kind. And that's actually, in game theory, the best possible response is just to match what your opponent does. Okay. Polish Foreign Ministry responds to Ukraine's request to down Russian missiles. Now, this is obviously on the western end of the country, and so it could be helpful for places like Lviv, perhaps, maybe, but they're open questions. The Ukrainian side is making such a request that the Polish military forces and Polish air defense systems shoot down missiles flying over Ukrainian territory. But they have to work some things out. For example, technical issues concerning the range of these missiles, as well as legal issues. What will happen if the wreckage of such a missile destroys someone's property or causes someone's death because ultimately the missile will not dissolve in the air? Well, and that's a good point. The missile won't dissolve in the air. President Zelensky believes that assistance from the North Atlantic Alliance in shooting down Russian missiles over the territory of Ukraine would help compensate for Kyiv's deficit in air defense and would not drag NATO into the war. Earlier, Zelensky said that he did not understand why Western NATO allies downed Iranian missiles and drones flying toward Israel, but they were afraid to do the same in Ukraine, fearing dragging the alliance into a war with Russia. It's a good question. There is a double standard there. Okay, let's keep going. Russia is now doing something else provocative. They're creating electronic Compatriot card program offering services and possibly Russian citizenship to Russians abroad. And so, okay, this wouldn't be provocative except that they've kind of said Russians anywhere deserve our protection and will come protect, like in Moldova or Ukraine or Georgia or what have you. And so it becomes more of a threat than it otherwise would be. The Kremlin appeared to be developing a system to legalize the status of Russia's so-called compatriots abroad, likely as part of its efforts to set information conditions to justify further aggression and hybrid operations abroad as protecting Russian compatriots. These don't even have to be Russian citizens, but those that are maybe sympathetic to Russia. Russia has a goal of having 500,000 foreign students studying in Russia every year by 2030. That's to kind of indoctrinate them. They noted that they're having issues in operating in the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, and other Western countries due to unfriendly Western policies, and absurdly claim that Russian houses, that's these Russian centers, do not engage in political propaganda or anything else. They only conduct cultural activities. Moldovan and Ukrainian officials have previously warned that Russian officials use Ruski Dom to promote Russian propaganda and conduct subversive work abroad. So, yeah, I mean, they're going to be indoctrinating when they're doing this. Okay, Russia wants to unilaterally change maritime border with Lithuania, Finland, and in the Baltic Sea. And this was yesterday, and I, for other reasons, didn't address it. But now they seem to have reversed it. And here in Tender, we're seeing this. Russia's murky threat to unilaterally question the Finnish maritime borders just to withdraw it the very next day are absolutely in line with Putin's thug mentality. It follows several agendas. First of all, testing the resolve of the NATO alliance. With Finland as a new member, Russia has been severely put on a back foot in this sector. So like now that Sweden and Finland have come aboard, Russia's kind of boxed in. No Russian ship can pass the now NATO lake, the Baltic Sea, without hundreds of NATO eyes following it. Secondly, Russia wants to harvest the outrage. Thugs always enjoy when their perceived victims complain. We see this constantly in Russian TV, where they talk themselves into delirium of Russia being a superpower. It's as juvenile as it is dumb. And then finally, the Russian barking will turn down once action by the West has been presented, if the West actually does anything. Now that's the if. It it is anyway almost comical that Russians think that they can threaten the Finnish people. Okay, so here's the border, and you can see this. This is the border of Russia. This is the border of Russia, and then there are these islands, and so they want to, put this protective hedge around these islands. Never mind that there's this severely limits what Finland can do, what Estonia can do here as calling their international waters. It's pretty absurd. A different view of this. Here's the border with Russia. Here's the border with Russia. Here's Estonia. Here is Finland. And these islands are out here in the middle. So we're just going to curtail Finland and Estonia's rights on behalf of Russia. Of course, that was never actually going to go anywhere. And again, here's another view of the same thing. All right. Video shows new Volga cars that are going to be produced in Russia, and these are going to replace Mercedes that dignitaries travel in and that sort of thing. And so a new line of Volga cars was unveiled for the first time at the Digital Industry of Industrial Russia exhibition. Prime Minister Mishustin visited the brand stand where he could personally assess the new cars. Okay, great. He's going to get to personally see them. Well, these new Russian cars that are going to replace Western luxury automobiles, they're knockoffs. They're Chinese knockoffs. Here's the new Russian car. Here's the Chinese iteration. Here's the new Russian car. Here's the Chinese iteration. Here's the new Russian car. Here's the Chinese iteration. They're just making copies of what the Chinese have done. Okay. Last little bit. Russians demand foreign atrocities as long as Putin provides them. Russians will love him. It's the glue that holds Russian society together, focusing their attention off their own misery and providing scapegoats for it. So if we look at this, it's a pretty compelling argument. This is the approval in black. This is the disapproval rating for Putin in blue. And what you see is Chechnya happens. Guess what? His approval skyrockets. And then Ukraine in 2014, his approval skyrockets. Oh, it's going down. Well, Ukraine again in 2022. That's just the way it works. Okay, that's all that I have. Thank you, my friends. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.